Hey, Charles, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Just open up your camera. There you go, brother. What's going on, man? My bad, brother. I'm running a little bit behind, man. I'm running around here trying to make it happen.
You and me
What's
both.
good? What's good though, brother?
You and me both, bro. You and me both. I literally got done training. Well, you called.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What's good to everybody in the room? Everybody in the room, what's going on? We are also live on YouTube as well. Let me jump on YouTube to see so I can check out the chat there. So what's good, bro? Talk to me, man. Tell me about the response, man. How's the response been since the podcast?
Oh my God. What did I ask for? I didn't, hey man, I didn't ask for this, man. I had man, I would say about 50 to 75 people signed up
Wow.
instantly.
Wow. That's
And
awesome, man. And that's a testament to the work you're doing. Your community definitely showed out. They're holding you down. I'm seeing them in the comments. You got the Sea Hive out there, brother.
hey man, I'm all glory to God, man. I'm just a vessel, but I let my students do all the talking. I just train them, and based on what I do, well, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, nah, for sure. And like you said, we talked earlier. You were actually training today. You just actually came out of a class, man. What were you guys talking about in the class today?
so
Give us a little bit of a recap.
so tonight's training was Wednesday night trainings are for very basic beginners, those who know very little, if anything. So I trained them about equipment types, the truck types, the dispatch agreement, the profile, going on the load board, starting what to say, the broker carrier packet, the rate confirmation, the basics, very high level stuff. And then we had some Q&A. And then when you called, I said, well, hey, by the way, because we were just talking about it.
Right.
Because people were saying, hey, man, we saw you in Truck and Hustle. We saw you in Truck and Hustle. I said, okay, cool. Thank you for the support. And then you called and you said, yeah, we're going live 8. I said, well, hey, I got my students right here. Say hello. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, so you said on Wednesdays you usually do like the basic ground level type of stuff. So like kind of talk to us about how you structure the training, like so that we covered Wednesdays. So what are the other days you train, and what do you typically cover on those other days?
Okay, so you want it for the dispatcher and the freight broker side?
Let's start with the dispatcher side, because I think probably the majority of people are interested in dispatching. I don't know if that's correct. If I'm wrong, y'all, tell me I'm wrong. Also, everybody in the chat, and on the webinar side, y'all free to comment. Feel free to ask any questions. Throw them in the question box. Let me know where everybody's from. On here, we're also live on YouTube as well. And if any of y'all want to join in on the call and jump on and join the conversation with us live, feel free to do so as well. So thank y'all all for tapping in. But yeah, go ahead. Explain that real quick, bro.
Okay, so on the dispatching side, we train 3 days live a week. Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's for the basic level. Saturdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's also for the basic. We combine basic students and those who registered for our $99 seminar. We put them in the Saturday class at 12 noon. And then on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we train live for the intermediate, kind of advanced dispatching. And those are the 3 days that we train under dispatching. Outside of the trainings, we do our back office portal is self-paced, learn as you go. So, and I just had my website done. It's brand new. The new front end stuff. Everybody loves it. It looks nice. I could probably send you the link so you can check it out too. So, but yeah, it looks nice.
Okay, for sure. So what's kind of the difference between like your beginners and your advanced type of material that you're training? Like you just now kind of reference, like what's more of the advanced stuff that you get into after we break down the basics? And just to give and everybody who's also on the call on the Patreon side, let us get an idea where you're at in the journey, in your dispatch journey. Are you guys just getting started? You want to learn more about dispatching, so we kind of cater this talk, to you. So just let me know. Just say just getting started. or, you know, already started dispatching, want to learn more, want to learn some tips and tricks, having trouble finding shippers, having trouble finding carriers, whatever it is, we kind of cater this to you because, you know, the goal is always to add as much value as we can. You know, obviously, I hope everybody checked out the podcast already. If you haven't, make sure you go to YouTube and check it out, or go to Spotify and Apple and check it out. But, you know, the goal in doing this is to really get like a behind the scenes kind of inside scoop and get some more additional details and some more additional value in addition to what we talked about on the podcast. So this is about going deeper and going a little bit further. Right. So I want to make sure you guys get something out of this. And that's why we're spending the time to do it. All right. So, what was I saying, Charles? I got sidetracked.
You wanted to go what was different.
The difference between right. The exam. There you go.
So the beginners is learning for the beginners is catered to those people who know very little, if anything, about dispatching. That's the Wednesdays and Saturday trainings. The Sunday trainings are more people who have found the carriers, finding loads for them, moving loads, and finding consistent freight, load strategy, load planning, and keeping them running to the point where they start to get consistent and dedicated lanes. So we're working on that with the advanced side. The Wednesdays and Saturday trainings are for people who are just getting started, maybe starting with getting their business up and running, maybe setting up their back office, what they need in their back office, their documents that they need, their dispatcher agreement, their profile, understanding what to send to the carriers when they do get a carrier, how to go after carriers, whether the methods, cold calling, visiting truck stops, word of mouth, text campaigns, email blasts, social media, LinkedIn, such and such, Facebook, things like that. When you know, techniques of getting carriers, understanding what is a load board, what's the purpose of a load board, what's its functionality, what's it's used for, and how you can benefit from it as a dispatcher. We go over that in a very step-by-step basic process. So all that's on the basic side. On the Sunday class, the advanced class, is for people who know all of that, but they're now planning out their carriers for like maybe a week or two at a time, trying to get them under with direct shippers, direct customers, setting them up on dedicated lanes, and scaling their business, scaling their company, adding more carriers, putting them in the same lane, things like that. So it's a progression from the Wednesday and Saturday class to the Sunday class. It's a progression, and it comes in stages. I had a person call me prior to you calling who got on the call. And I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but he got like 10 carriers. He's doing good. Bought him a truck. So he's making money where he bought his own truck and started putting a carrier in the truck, and he's dispatching. So that's the evolution of this ecosystem we call transportation.
Right. So, got you. And what I keep on hearing about your curriculum specifically is the attention to detail that you really, you know, put into it, and the information, and you make the information very digestible for everybody. It seems that's like kind of what I hear over and over again. Tell me a little bit about when you were putting together, you know, your curriculum, how you went about it. How'd you go about building it out, you know, to make it so digestible for people to understand it?
Great question. I did that based off of the bumps and bruises that I experienced as a dispatcher, right? So I said, well, let me, and then when I was remember I said I was part of a platform where I learned dispatching in the podcast.
Yeah.
So I learned that when I was in that one doing dispatching, a lot of people were asking questions, basic level questions that I was the majority of the time answering. So I was saying, well, gee, I need to form something that can cater to people who don't know as much, because the moderator or the instructor was giving them advanced. He was feeding a baby steak instead of giving them Gerber, you see. So I said, this doesn't make sense, right? And me coming from an analytical, technical nerd background, I saw that. So I said, well, I see what they need. I know what to give them because I understand it. So I took my experiences in dispatching, all the mistakes I made. I say, okay, let me itemize this, put an outline together, and say, this is what you do here. And if this happens, you do this next. Then you do this next. Anything happens at that level, this is what you do to get out of this situation. And then so on and so forth. I put that into a curriculum and an online platform. And today, here's where we are. Dispatcher 101 training for beginners.
Got you. And the curriculum is self-paced. You said it's 4 parts, right?
It's 4 modules. Module 1 is called carrier acquisition. It teaches you about equipment types. We focus on starting out for new dispatchers, the 3 major equipment types: the 53-foot dry vans, the 53-foot refrigerated trailers, or what we call reefers, and the 48 or 53-foot flatbeds. Why? Because remember in my explanation, if you go out on the road, on the interstate, you throw a rock, you're going to hit one of those. They're the easiest to find on the load boards. You can find loads for them the easiest. They pay the better rates, right? So those, as opposed to the other specialized equipment types. So we focus on those three. We don't tell you not to go after the other ones, but if you are a brand new dispatcher, it makes your transition into this industry easier if you go after equipment types that are easier to find loads for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So in carrier acquisition, we talk about that. We talk about our dispatcher agreement and profile, because you can't be a dispatcher unless you have some kind of contract or an agreement between you and that carrier saying, hey, I can find you these loads for this flat rate or this percentage. You agree to that. Let's sign this document saying that. Let me find the loads for you. You pay me this rate, and we can come together as a union, right? And then we have a dispatch agreement, and then we have a profile, a carrier profile. The carrier profile, what that says is that form is a way of the carrier telling you, the dispatcher, how they want you to find their loads for you. Hey, I'm a carrier. I want $3 a mile. I don't want to haul no more than 40,000 pounds. I don't want to go to the mountains, right? I want to stay in certain areas. I want to be home every weekend, or whatever the specifications or the requirements, if you will, of the profile. You as the dispatcher, you have that information. Now you can cater your load search according to that profile and give the carrier what they want. I'm a big proponent of customer service and communication. So that's in module, and also all in module. I'm still on module 1. So right. Module 1. So
I got you.
Yeah. So
keep going. That's module 1.
Yes, module 1. So, and all that. So the methods of going after the carriers, truck stops, still in module 1, visiting the truck stops, passing out flyers, dispatch agreements, things like that. Cold calling, different methods of cold calling, what to say, the script. I don't even like to use the word script, because I believe when you're talking to a carrier and you and the dispatcher, that should be a conversation. It shouldn't be a robotic form you're sitting there reading, hey, my name is ABC. You shouldn't do that. It should be a flow. You should memorize your script and turn it into a conversation, right? It's no longer a script. So cold calling, text campaigns, emails campaigns, social media like LinkedIn, join these LinkedIn groups, professional groups, put together your pitch there. Facebook groups, join owner-operator groups, Instagram, whatever social media outlet that you're familiar with and that you use, that owner-operators are a part of, do that. So we're still in module 1, right? And then module 2, load board access. I go with load board access, right? I teach them about, I offer my students, I give them access to 6 load boards in my back office, right? A popular one that we use is Direct Freight Services, 123 Load Board, Trucker's Edge, Trucking Planet. So we're getting ready to add some more. And I teach them how to navigate those load boards. I teach them about the functionality of those load boards. What is the difference between, what are the commonalities of the load boards, and what are the differences of the load boards that can benefit them the most in their dispatching journey? How to find those loads, how to do tri-hauls, how to do back hauls, all the terms that I'm saying, I go over that. We have a glossary in there. So that's module 2. Module 3 is booking the loads. So now you're getting into the conversation with the broker. What do you say to a broker when you find a load for your carrier according to their profile? How is that conversation had with the broker, right? What do you say to the broker? Hey, this is Charles with ABC Dispatching. I'm calling about this load picking up in Norfolk, Virginia, going down to Atlanta, Georgia. Is that load still available? Oh, yeah, it is, by the way. Okay, I want to get some details about that load. Okay, what's your MC number? So as a dispatcher, you're going to give them the MC number of the carrier that you are dispatching for. Why? Because dispatchers do not have MC numbers. If a dispatcher has an MC number, guess what? They are no longer a dispatcher. They are either a broker or a carrier, right? Because when you apply for an MC number, you are applying for it as a broker or as a carrier. So you're giving the MC number to the broker of your carrier. So now the broker is going to look that up in their system to tell you one of two things. Is that carrier already established or onboarded or an approved carrier under that brokerage, or are they not? So this is literally step by step what goes on in the process, generally across the board. And then if they are not, let's take the worst case scenario. If the carrier is not set up with that brokerage, the broker is going to ask, okay, who do I send the setup packet, the onboard packet, the carrier packet, the broker carrier agreement? Those all mean the same thing. Who do I send that to? So as a dispatcher, if you're managing these things for your carrier, who do you think the broker should send that to? They should send it to the dispatcher. You're managing your carrier's, day-to-day operations, the back office stuff. You're booking the loads for them. So they send it to you. You go through the process of getting that filled out, onboarding them, and then sending them that back to them along with copies of your carrier's credentials. Oh, and I forgot to mention in module 1, when you send out a dispatch agreement and a carrier profile to your carrier, they fill that out and return that to you. As a dispatcher, you would want, and it is more efficient for your carrier to return to you copies of their credentials. Okay, what are carrier credentials? These are documents that brokers ask for the carriers all the time so that they can properly onboard them. What are those things? A copy of their motor carrier authority. Why? Because it shows the carrier having an authority to transport freight governed by DOT and FMCSA. Number 2, a copy of their certificate of insurance. Why? It shows that the carrier has the right amount of insurance coverage to transport that load and cover the cost of that load in case of damage or bodily injury. Namely, liability, $1 million, cargo, $100,000. Number 3, a copy of the carrier's W-9, showing that they have a business in place with an EIN number attached to their company, that they are a legitimate business. And then number 4, if the carrier has a factoring company, something called a notice of assignment. A notice of assignment is the factoring company way of assigning responsibility of payment from the broker to the carrier to the broker to the factoring company. That's why the carrier has a factoring company, to kind of get money up front in advance. Factoring company gives like a 90% advance, and then they put 10 in reserve until they get paid by the broker, releases that, pay the carrier minus their percentage. That's just a quick synopsis of what a factoring company is. So
right.
That was module 1. So back to module 3. Right. There's so much basic stuff.
Blue
right?
magic.
I'm giving it away, man. Giving it away. Here, take it, please.
Keep on going. Keep on going.
Right. So module 3, booking the load is the conversation with the broker, right? You are filling out the broker carrier agreement. You're sending that back to the broker along with copies of the carrier's credentials, their documents, the W-9, MC Authority, Certificate of Insurance, and NOA. Now the broker is going to receive that from you, the dispatcher, process that into their brokerage system, approve that carrier, because that's what the broker carrier agreement does. So there's 2 broker types of documents or paperwork. It's the broker carrier agreement to get a carrier approved and set up with the brokerage. And then there is the rate confirmation to officially book that load that you called about as a dispatcher when you saw it on the load board. So broker carrier agreements get you set up with the brokerage. Rate confirmations get you that load approved and officially booked, officially booked. So those are documents there in module 3. So, and then module 4 is a simple module. It's just how you, as the dispatcher, invoice your carrier once they have delivered the load. You're going to invoice for your service that you charge for your dispatching service, right? So you either charge a flat rate, $400 to $600 a week, depending on how many loads you get, or a percentage of the loads. 5 to 10% is the going rate these days. And you can create your invoices in any type of software, Square, PayPal, QuickBooks, your bank, credit union. If you have a business account, you can have invoicing coming through your bank. So, and those are self-paced, learn as you go. Outside of the live trainings that we offer the 3 days, the purpose of the live trainings is for students to come in and ask their questions to me live, and I share my screen and answer those questions live and give you a more realistic concept. I've called live shippers. I've called shippers live, I should say. I've called brokers live. I've called carriers live to give it to you how you should receive it, right? I'm giving you. So basically, what better way to train you as a dispatcher than to literally show you what it is that you are going to be doing yourself? That is my philosophy. What better way to train you as a dispatcher than to literally show you what it is you're doing yourself?
No doubt. Drop some fire in the comments, y'all. You've been going on for a minute. Get a drink of water or something, man.
Ginger ale.
You need a break, bro. You need a break real quick. All right, listen. So the point of this, everybody show Charles some love real quick in those comments, man. Listen, I know y'all have some questions, and we could probably be here all night asking and answering them. But we're gonna do this till about 9 o'clock. I don't want to keep Charles all night, so I need y'all to ask y'all questions. Get them out there right now. Whatever questions you have, Charles just really gave a really great structural breakdown of everything that is dispatching, right? That's encompassing the whole entire process from beginning to end. So anywhere that you guys are struggling, please feel free. Patreon, you guys have first dibs. So please drop your questions. Do not make sure you take advantage of this opportunity to ask any questions that you have. So I'm going to start looking through the questions. If I don't see any questions in the Patreon group, I'm going to go to YouTube. So I'm going to start looking for questions right now. All right. So let me see. So Gustav says finding carriers and planning carriers. That's a little bit vague. That's a little bit too vague to answer, right? Can you get a little bit more detail with that, Gustav? Or do you want to tackle that real quick, Charles?
So I'm assuming by him saying finding questions and answers, he's just saying how to find carriers and
finding carriers and planning carriers. That's probably what he's asking. He's probably saying how to find carriers and how to plan them. Maybe actually, right. Put them, plan them on the routes or whatever. So I guess you could give a little bit of overview of that.
Right. So there's several ways that we find carriers. Truck stops. We find them on the load boards. We do truck searches on the load boards. In our directories, we look on the FMCSA in the registry for new entrants, people who have applied for their authority to be active. Those are the new carriers, which can put you at an advantage. You can leverage that because they're getting their new NCs. So that as a new carrier, it's going to be difficult sometimes to find loads with the brokers, right? Because brokers they're a little apprehensive about working with new authority carriers. Why? Because they haven't proven themselves yet. They haven't moved one load or anything like that. So they haven't proven themselves. But we have in our platform a database, if you will, a list of brokers that work with new authority carriers, 6 months, a year or less, right? So, but that's the way, those are the ways to find them. So I see another one too. It says, what are the best ways to get in contact with new carriers? So there is a website that we use. It's called the Safer website. And in that website, there is the FMCSA, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. They have a register that they put information in there in regards to carriers, brokers, freight forwarders, shippers, if you will. So, and one of those information sections is called the fitness section. So SAFER is an acronym. The SAFER website, it stands for Safety and Fitness Electronic Record, right? And what that does is the fitness section categorizes certain types of MC carriers. So there's different types of MC authorities for the carrier side. There's two types for the broker side, a broker of property and a broker of household goods. There are four types that I know of the carrier side. There's a common carrier, contract carrier, passenger carrier, and household goods. So the household goods carriers are the moving companies, right? Covan, Atlas, Mayflower, those big trucks that move the military families all over the country, right? Passenger carriers, busing companies, limousine services, things like that, right? Common and contract carriers are the ones that we teach our students to focus on because those are the carriers who are the over-the-road carriers. Those are the ones who deal with the brokers and things like that. So in the SAFER website, there is a column called the date that they filed for the authority. It shows under the fitness section the common and contract carriers of property except household goods. That's the actual category of those new carriers. So the person who was asking where to find the best place to find that is in the SAFER website. And there's different types of carriers. There's interstate and intrastate, right? Intrastate carriers can only move freight within their domicile state where they have their business registered and things like that, their MC and stuff like that. So interstate can cross state lines. They can, so you got an MC number. If you just have a DOT number, then you're more likely to intrastate carrier. But if you have an MC and DOT, then you're more interstate, so you can cross state lines. So you want to decide if the type of carrier you want to dispatch for is intrastate or interstate. Now, one may not make more money than the other one, but if you got an intrastate carrier in Texas, they may make more money than an interstate who's based out of, let's say, Oklahoma, right? So that's that. Safer website is one of the places to find new carriers. So.
All right. Awesome breakdown. All right, let's go back to the top. Let's see best practices for adding new dispatchers to your business.
Great question. So you're trying to scale your business. So if you get to a point where I usually ask my students, and I have about 950 students now, which is crazy, thanks to Truck and Hustle. You see all the great gray hair?
We're going to keep on going. We're going to add about another 50 after this call is over, because I see the fire in the comments already.
Yeah, I see. So best practices for adding new dispatchers. I usually tell new dispatchers when you first start your business, how many carriers can you handle by yourself without having to add a sub dispatcher? I usually say I'll cap it at 5, right? If you 3 to 5, then you decide to add a new dispatcher. If you get to that point, you're going to scale your business, add a new dispatcher, and then what you do is either you provide the carriers for the dispatchers, and then you do a sub dispatching agreement where that person books the loads for those carriers, and then you guys either split the commission or you have some kind of commission split where it's 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, which is the cap, based off of the skill set of that person finding the loads, right? If they're a new person you just brought on and you have to train them to get them to that point, then it's 50-50, obviously, right? They have to earn that 60-40 and 70-30. So yeah, I would say adding new dispatchers after about 3 to 5 carriers, if you feel that that's what you could. If you could handle more, then only you know what you can handle. I just tell my students on average about 3 to 5, then you start to scale. So.
No doubt. All right, I'm going to move through these questions because they're popping up all over the place. So I'm going to start moving. Is it wrong to offer promotional rates of 2% because I'm a new dispatcher? Other older dispatchers appear pressed.
2% is like hustling backwards. That's too low. It's not wrong to offer promotional rates, but 2% is way too low. You are not, it's below your worth, if you will. If you feel you're worth 2%, then by all means do it. But 2%, you're gonna climb a hill with a large boulder, and the hill is oil slicked. So yeah, it's not a good.
What would you say is the lowest you should go starting now? Just if you had to throw a percentage base number out there.
5.
5. Okay.
5. So because the range is between 5 and 10. So I tell my students 5 to 10. If you're brand new, 5 to 7. And if you feel that you got some skills a little bit, a little bit, then 7 to 10 or 8 to 10. So most of my new dispatchers say, well, I think I'm gonna meet them in the middle and just go with 7. I say, you know what? That's a fair number because it's saying that you're not a beginner, and it's saying you're not an expert, and that's a fair rate. And most carriers go with that. So.
And if you haven't checked out the podcast, definitely revisit that and talk and listen to how we talked about framing how you actually talk to your clients about that rate, right? Framing it as you're actually building that number into the broker side and not out of their pockets. So check that out if you missed that part.
Right.
Dispatching software.
Starting out, Excel spreadsheet, because if you got 1, 2, 3, 5 carriers, it shouldn't take a lot of you want to keep your overhead low, right? If you are especially if you're a new business and you are concerned about expenses, which you should be as a new company. Most new businesses fail in the first 3 years, right? So you need to be mindful of your overhead. All it takes is, when I started, I had file folders on my desktop for my carriers. And then I got an Excel spreadsheet, and then eventually got to what's called a TMS system. But even a TMS system is an overkill because a TMS system is a transportation management software. Out of the box, that is designed for the brokers and the shippers. It has nothing to do with dispatchers. But in the settings of that TMS system, you can tweak and customize the fields to make it customizable for dispatchers. You can do that if you pay for that addition of that subscription. But why do that if you only got 3 to 5, maybe even 10? An Excel spreadsheet, you can make sales, you can manipulate data and formulas and fields in the spreadsheet that do exactly what the TMS system does. You just got to know how to do that. So yeah, so starting out, keep your overhead low, Excel spreadsheet, keep track of that, QuickBooks, basic stuff, right? And then as your business grows in revenue, you can scale to match you can grow and match the scalability of your business with the software. So
there we go. Excel spreadsheet, QuickBooks. All right, Malik, what's good, Malik? Do you ever estimate how much you can make a carrier, and if so, how much do you estimate you can make a carrier, dry, reefer, flat? So I think he's saying, do you ever estimate how much you can make per carrier, and if so, how much do you think you can make per carrier with dry van, reefer, and flatbed?
Yep, I got it. Yep, that's a great question, Malik. Great question. So understanding the market will help, and the trends and analytics, right? But with dry vans, flatbeds, and reefers, it's anywhere between 8 and 10 grand a week, depending on how much over the road they do. Between 2,500 and 3,000 miles per week, the carrier can average between 250 to 275 up to about 325, 350 a mile, and that's on the low end. Right now, or about a month or so ago, the market was controlled highly by the carriers. They dictated the market, the law of supply and demand. There was more freight. So when there's more freight in the market than there are carriers, then the carriers control the market because the freight needs to be moved. The carriers control the rate of how they move that freight. When there's more carriers in the market than there is freight, then the brokers and the shippers control the market because we got the freight. There's an abundance of carriers. I can choose whichever carrier I want and dictate the rate when I want. But again, when there's more freight than there is carriers, then the carriers control the market. So you understand the law of supply and demand. That helps you control the market as well. So, but yes, you can estimate based off of market trends, analytics. Nowadays, it's between 8 and 10, maybe even 12. I've seen as high as 12, 13 a week to carriers. So for across the three semi-equipment types, dry van, flatbed, and reefers. Yes.
Where would you suggest Malik go for that information?
Trend lines. In DAT, you have what's called market conditions. It shows the hot markets. Anything that's red is the hot markets, and it shows it across the three major equipment types. If you have a subscription to DAT, or you know somebody who have DAT Power or even DAT Express, they can show the market conditions and then go from there. Matter of fact, I believe DAT is offering a dispatcher version of free trial to dispatchers, but then they're gonna, if you want the full-blown dispatcher subscription, you got to pay like $2 something, right? So it's kind of like a marketing ploy to kind of lure you in and then try to take your bank from you later on. So
no doubt. I think we have a promotional code for that. If my back office is there, you could throw that promotional code in the chat somewhere. I think we have one for that for a free month or something like that. So check that out. All right, I have one truck now, which I dispatch. Audit, set up authority. What is the price I am supposed to charge? You say 7 to 8% or a flat rate?
So
okay.
as a dispatching company, that option is completely yours. You have to know your worth and determine based off the level of labor, if you will, or work that you put it into the company. If you're just simply dispatching, finding loads, booking loads for them, then that warrants maybe even a flat rate or a percentage. But if you're adding more aspects of your company, if you're doing the bookkeeping, if you're doing the auditing, if you're doing the taxes and things like that, invoicing and stuff like that, then you need to be paid and compensated for that service, right? Otherwise, you're selling yourself short. You're not adding value to your life, right? So you have to determine what that is. If it's 7, so it may exceed that 5 to 10% range for the dispatching side. You may get into the realm of 10 to 15% now because you're adding those extra services, right? So you have to know your worth. You know, you don't want to work below what you are worth. So only you know that. Okay.
No doubt. Rachel Wimberly asks, what is a good rate to charge starting out as a dispatcher? We covered that, but she also asked, do you teach broker? So you could get in, talk about that real quick.
Yes, I do. I teach dispatcher 101 training for beginners, as well as freight broker 101 training for beginners. Starting off how to be a freight broker, how to literally go on the fmcsa.dot.gov website, fill out what's called the OP-1 form. On that form, there is 8 sections, 4 of which applies to the brokers. So the OP-1 form is the motor carrier and broker of property application. You can either do it online or you could do it in paper form, PDF. You apply for a broker of property except household goods. Once you fill that out, you will be issued a grant letter by the FMCSA. It has your MC and DOT number, but it is not active. During which that time there is a 10-day protest, and within 90 days you have to have a bond company filed and a process server filed with the FMCSA by those designated companies before your MC and DOT for your brokerage becomes active. We teach all of that. We also teach in freight brokering how to get customers or shippers, how to deal with carriers, whether they're network carriers, approved carriers, or asset-based. We go over TMS systems. We go over packet types, because as a broker, you have two customers that you deal with. You have your shipper, who are your regular customers who you procure the freight with. So let me go back first. A broker is someone who is a logistics provider. They are a person who is a logistics provider. They arrange for the transportation of freight. They do not take possession of the freight. A freight broker. Who takes possession of the freight? The carrier, right? So the freight broker has two customers, the shippers and the carriers. They have a broker shipper packet. What are the contents of the broker shipper packet? Well, the broker shipper agreement, which is the contract that binds you and the shipper so that you can procure their loads, their freight from them at whatever rate, whether a target rate or a lane quote, what's called a lane quote. So you have that. You have a copy of your broker authority, because a shipper wants to know, if I'm going to give a freight to somebody, I need to know that they are qualified for me to give their freight to. If I'm going to give you my multi-million dollar a week or a year freight, I need to know that you can broker that freight. So the FMCSA and DOT has a license that shows that you are a broker. I need a copy of that, please. Thank you. So number two, I need to see that you have a bond, that you have either a surety bond or a trust fund. And right now, the minimum for that is $75,000. I've seen 100. I've seen 250,000. So what is that? What is a bond? A bond is the broker's way of showing financial responsibility in case they do something wrong to their two customers, the shipper or the carrier. Let's say you don't pay your carrier as a broker. The carrier can file a claim against your bond for that money. And the bond company is going to come in and investigate that and say, hey, Mr. Broker, you were wrong. We paid the carrier for your negligence, but we need that money back. We need for you to re-up, right? So we need to get that money from you. So that's what the bond does. And there's different types of bonds. There's a surety bond and a trust fund. So the bond companies, as a broker, when you're applying for a broker, the bond company needs to file either a BMC-84, which is a surety bond, which is based on credit, and then a BMC-85, which is a trust fund. So if you got $75 sitting in escrow, you can have at it. And then also you need to designate a process server, right? Which is a BOC-3. Okay, BOC-3, a process which is called blanket of companies or blanket of coverage. That's what BOC stands for. That person, a process server or a process agent, is someone who, if one of your two customers filed a claim against you, this is the person who's going to serve that paperwork to you, right? You've been served, right? And saying that someone has filed a claim against your authority or against your bond, I should say, right? So you can be your own process agent in the state that you have your broker authority established and you're doing contracts with. Otherwise, you just get bond agents all over the country. One company can represent all the states that you have contracts. So for every state that you as a broker have contracts in, whether it's with the shippers or contracts with the carriers, you need to have a process agent assigned to that state. And one company has the ability to cover all 50 states. So you don't have to find one process agent separately for every state. You can get one company to cover all the states that you're doing business in. So I want to be clear with that. So people ask me that question all the time. So that you need a UCR, you need extra insurance. Brokers can have extra insurance to have in contingent to what the carriers have. It's called contingent cargo, CCI. That's one type. General liability is another type. And then the third type, common, is called E&O, errors and omissions. So let's say as a broker, you get a flatbed type of shipper that has commodities that goes on a flatbed, and you procure that shipment. You get carriers with flatbeds, so you're brokering the loads. You neglect to put on the rate confirmation as a broker that this load needed to be tarped, right? You forgot to tell the carrier that. So the carrier picks the load up from the shipper, takes it to the receiver. Guess what? The receiver is going to reject it because it wasn't tarped. Who's responsible for that? the broker, because he forgot to tell the carrier that load should have been tarped. That's where E&O kicks in to cover that claim. Okay, that's how that works. Okay, so just a high level example. Okay.
Nah, no doubt, no doubt. Thank you. And a couple people were asking where can they get the training. I dropped it in the Patreon group at the top. If y'all see it right there, just click on that and you can go directly to Charles's website. All right, let me try to move through some of these questions here because there's a lot just popping up all over the place. And I'm gonna service the Patreon people first. So YouTube, y'all gotta wait. This is the family. I gotta get them first. All right, and also let me plug the Patreon. We do this every week with our guests. Patreon.com/truck and hustle. Definitely tap in with us. All right. Let me see. Hold up. Let me go. All right. Can you get a government contract as a dispatcher or as a broker?
More so as a broker. Most brokers get the government contract. Dispatchers are not going to get a government contract. You have to be a broker. Well, I can't say they can't, but it's more than likely that brokers are going to get the government contracts because they have the credentials better so than the dispatchers to get to the government than the dispatchers do, right? They have all the licensing credentials, the authority, the bond, and things like that. So they're more susceptible to get government contracts to procure that freight from government people. You need, all those numbers, those SAMS numbers and things like that, the qualifiers to get, and that's a process, about a 2 to 3 year process. There's a lot of red tape with the government, right? Because they're checking hair follicles, DNA. So they're doing all types of stuff. So, but yeah, so this more so brokers. So
copy that. All right, let's move through. Malik, I see you. Copy that, fam. Let me see. Why don't all dispatchers work with power only?
I don't know why we won't. Well, power onlys are just, so what a power only is, it is just a truck, right? The tractor, the power only unit. It doesn't have a trailer connected to it or coupled to it, right? So power only, some dispatchers may have a difficulty understanding how to find loads for them. That could be a reason why they don't understand the concepts of dropping hooks, load outs, towaways, things of that nature. That requires power only type of equipment, right? So that could be a reason. It could be ignorance, right? They don't understand what the use cases are for using a power only equipment type. So, dropping hooks, load outs, towaways, those type of things. Getting in with Amazon with a power only tractor is a good starting point. They may not pay as good starting out because Amazon has a payment matrix based off of performance. So if you're not performing pretty good, you may not get paid starting out. Then you have to prove yourself later on down the line. And that could take months depending on who you are. But but because you're using their trailers, Amazon is pretty much kind of trying to revolutionize the industry like Microsoft did with computers. So, but that's one of the reasons. Could be ignorance. So.
All right, cool. Let's keep on moving through. Correct. I used that. All right. Is it wrong? Okay, we're back to that question. Just give me a second. I want to make sure we get everybody in the Hustle Fam's questions first. What is a good rate to charge? Can you start off as a part-time dispatcher? Marvis asked.
Ooh, great question. You can.
So let's talk about this. Frame it this way in your experience, because you probably have some people who are part-time and some people who are full-time, right? What are the results that you see with the people who go full-time and the results that you see with people who just do it part-time? That's probably a better way to ask that question.
Yeah, and that's a great question. So the results of people who are doing it part-time is harder. It's harder for them than the person doing it full-time because they're committing completely to that. They're not thinking about their part-time job and then focus because they're not coming in at a particular time where they may not be able to find a load during that time of the day. As a full-time dispatcher, the times to go after the carriers, the time to call the brokers to book the loads. During those times, if you're part-time, you may be at work. So you may not be able to accommodate your carrier in your part-time job as a part-time dispatcher during the times that carriers and finding loads for them with brokers is most heavy and prevalent. You're at work at your job, so you're having a difficult time. Unless you can flip that and work part-time, like overnight shift or something like that, and then during the day, you can work as a dispatcher. That may be a possibility, right? But in most cases, to answer your question, it is obviously more difficult to do it part-time. If you are starting a business, my suggestion is commit yourself to it. Now I understand people's conditions, economic conditions, and things like that. So, and you're trying to progress into that. So consider that overnight shift job, and then during the day, spend that, because you get 24 hours in a day, right? Once you wake up every morning, you got two things that you're guaranteed to have, right? A chance and a choice, right? You get a chance and a choice, right? And the choices you make with the chance you get, that's on you, right? So there's my quote of the day, right? So, but yeah, you get a chance and a choice. So how you frame your 24 hours, right? And we spend we spend a third of that time. Most people spend a third of that time sleep, 8 hours, right? That's a third of your day, right? So
Right.
people who are millionaires and billionaires, they don't sleep 8 hours, right? Because they're building their companies, right? So it's the motivation of the person. So you could possibly, if you have the motivation and you set it up and structure it correctly, and you understand time and how to flip that, you could probably be a part-time dispatcher more successful than a full-time. So
Right.
it's all about mindset and perception.
Yeah, agreed. Marvis also said, what's the average amount of money you can make with just one driver? We kind of covered that. You talked about going and looking at the different market trends to kind of analyze what everything's looking like currently, the market conditions, and you can kind of gauge what you can make with one driver. Mm-hmm. Do you want to add to that again for him?
Sure. So with one driver, let's say you got a drive van, and you find them 3 loads a week, right? You charge 10% as a dispatcher. Each load, because I gave this example in the podcast, each load is paying about $2,000 a load, which is kind of easy, right? $2,000 load, 2-day run, pick up on Monday, first load number 1 picks up on Monday, delivers on Wednesday. You find another load out of there, picks up on Wednesday, delivers on Friday. The third load picks up on Friday, delivers the following Monday. So that's 3 loads in a week. 10%, you gross $6,000 for that, right? That's low end. You could do fairly more than that, but that's low end. $6,000 a week. 10% of 6,000 is 600. That's one driver. So 600 a week gross. You're charging your percentage of the gross amount of what the carrier makes, not the net, the gross. Not after they pay their expenses. You're charging them what you gross for them on the load that you booked, right? You have nothing to do with their expenses. You booked that load. You should be compensated for what you made on that load, or what you booked that load for, right? That's why I say the gross amount. So if you 3 loads a week, you got $6,000, 10%, that's $600 a week for you gross. Let's say you could do that across 5 carriers. So you manage 5 carriers doing the same thing. What's 600 times 5? That's $3,000 gross a week to you as a dispatcher. Can you live off of $3,000 a week as a dispatcher? $3,000. Now let's say gross. Now we're going to get into net in a minute, but gross. $3,000 a week, 4 weeks in a month. That's $12,000. 12 months in a year. That's $144,000 gross a year off of 5 carriers, potentially, depending on how you have to progress to that. That's not going to happen overnight, guys. So let's be realistic, right? It's not going to happen overnight. Okay. But if you progress on that, how do you do that at a faster pace? Well, let's say you got one carrier that's a dry van carrier, and you have a good relationship with them. You get a good broker that finds them good loads that you can gross at least $6,000 a week, and you start moving that regularly. Gee, what do I do now? Let me find another dry van carrier and put them in the same route or same lane with the same broker as that first dry van carrier. So now I got 2 carriers. You know how happy that broker is? You just gave him 2 carriers now to run his freight. Let me put a 3rd one in. I can handle another one. Let me put a 3rd one in. So if you put 5 dry van carriers, the same equipment type, with the same broker with that good relationship, running the same lanes, because I'm sure that broker has multiple runs in that lane. If he's a smart broker and he's got good shippers with good large amounts of capacity. So you see, so the statement I made in the podcast, dispatching is easy. That's what I meant. That's what I meant when I said it, right? When you have that aha moment, that ding, 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 light bulb moment. You say, man, there's no sense of trying to get 3 carriers of 3 different equipment types. I'll focus on one equipment type and just get multiple carriers of that same equipment type, and get that one or few brokers and keep those carriers running in the lanes of that same broker. And I'm good because I'm building relationships. I got good carriers. I got good brokers who like me because I'm bringing them good carriers. So everything's good, and I'm able to leverage negotiating now because I'm giving you good carriers. So now, Mr. Broker, I can leverage extra $200 to $300 on the rate because I'm giving you good carriers. They're delivering on time. They're giving you good service. There's no damaged freight. There's no claims, right? I'm giving you A+ carriers. So that's the art of dispatching, the science of dispatching. It's relationships, it's customer service, right? Communication. So.
No doubt, no doubt. Let's move through some of these questions. How to manage carriers that are hard to please? Spencer asked.
Get rid of them. Do not waste your time with carriers that are hard to please. You know why? Because there's tons of carriers out here who need your service. Why would you waste 8 hours in a day finding a load for a carrier, and then all of a sudden you book that load? I had this in the training tonight before you called, Ramel. A dispatcher had a carrier, and he said, Charles, what should I do? I got a carrier. I spent 7 to 8 hours a day finding a good load for them, booked it with the broker, got the rate confirmation signed and everything, and then the carrier canceled. I said, well, okay, the first thing that you do, did you call the broker to let them know? Because the broker needs to know so they can make provisions to find another carrier, scramble, get their shipper and tell them, right? The broker's going to put that carrier on a DNU list, do not use, because that carrier is not worth it, right? You go through that whole process of getting onboarded with the broker, booking the load, and then you cancel. And you cancel for a non-emergency reason. So it's ridiculous. So do not waste your time on carriers who are going to waste your time. If you guys understand what I'm saying, right? There are carriers out there who need your service. Trust me on that. Trust me on that. There are carriers who need your service. Do not, and you can feel the carriers that are going to give you a hard time. You just have that itch, that feeling that, you know, this is going to be a hard sale or person to deal with. Okay. Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. I appreciate it. I'm sorry to bother you. Thanks. Click, and then move on to the next one. There's thousands of carriers out there, man. Don't waste your time. Don't stress yourself. Don't get disappointed. It's going to happen. The first carrier is always the hardest. Or I should say the first few carriers are always the hardest. Once you get past that, they're gonna flood you with questions and trying to get you to dispatch for them. Trust me on that. Trust me.
No doubt. My man Malik said, what are the key pieces that you keep in a contract with a carrier?
Well, that's your dispatcher agreement and the profile. So, and you can tweak your dispatch agreement how you see fit for your company. You may have things in place. We have a template in our platform that we start you out with a dispatch agreement, some kind of form to follow, but you can add to and take away as you see fit, because every dispatching company is different. Everybody's philosophy on it is different. Well, we just give you a baseline foundational template to go by and tell you some of the basic things that you need, and then you just take it and run from there. So.
Got you. All right, cool. Let's see. Let me move through these questions. SB, how much you can make carrier? So, okay, I asked that one already. I'm just trying to make sure I caught all the Patreon questions first, and then I'll look at the YouTube is crazy with questions too. But I'm gonna try to get. I said we was gonna wrap at 9, but maybe we go like a little bit over. Maybe like, how you looking on time? You go on time?
Yeah, my bedtime is 9, but I got permission from my wife, so I got
9:15. If y'all want to say till 9:15, throw some fire in the comments, and we'll do an extra 15 minutes.
Yeah. Street lights is on.
No doubt. All right, let me see. Okay. All right. So when booking loads, is it better to book loads that pick up and drop off the next day, or longer trips that drop off in 2 or 3 days?
Great question. It depends on the profile of your carrier and how they like to run. But that is a great question, because you may have carriers who want to stay local with loads that pick up and then deliver the next day. That's kind of a local thing, because next day delivered loads is not that many miles, right? Maybe up to 500 or whatever. Or you may have carriers who are over the road, OTR. So that can go long distances, right? So it depends on the profile of the carrier. So when you send your carrier that carrier profile, when you get them first set up with a dispatcher agreement, you ask them, how do you like to run? What states you want to go to? What states you want to avoid? How often do you want to be out? I have a carrier. The most common is carriers who want to be out 3 weeks and home 1 week, right? So over the road 3 weeks. So that's common. Out 3 weeks. So in a month's time, they're out on the road 3 weeks and they're home with their family a week. That's a decent a carrier. That's the ideal carrier to have. Someone who because you know that you keep them out there for 3 weeks at a time, and then you make their way back home after 2.5 weeks, move them towards, you send them out a week and a half and then bring them back towards home another week and a half. So that's 3 weeks. So by the time they get home, they get the whole week to rest. And guess what? You can potentially send them out on the same route again, out and back, because you're dealing with the same broker, same shippers, perhaps sending them out to the same lanes. So that's where the comment where dispatching is easy came in at, because once you pick up on the pattern of things, then all you got to do is plug and play. Just put in different carriers and different brokers, and the system is pretty much running itself. So
no doubt. Outside of just dispatching, what additional services can you provide a carrier?
Oh, you can iron their clothes, mow their lawn. I don't know what the question. So, bookkeeping. You can do invoicing for them. If it's transportation related, yeah. You can provide some. I don't want to say taxes, because if you're not a CPA, if you're a dispatcher, why would you? You're not a fiduciary or anything like that. So, but bookkeeping, invoicing, things like that. That's related specifically to their, maybe help them with a little bit of compliance, be a resource for if they have any emergency, like if their truck is breaking down, they need to know where the next truck stop is and things like that. We have resources in our back office that have that, like Truck Router and National Truck and Trailer Service. That's a website where you can go on there and look up truck repair and truck wash and nearest truck stops and things like that. So we have resources that makes our dispatchers more marketable in the eyes of the carrier. And then I teach my dispatchers also to understand the logic of the carrier, understand what their bottom line is, what their expenses are, and try to set up loads to help at least get them to their break-even number, or maybe more, so that they can turn a profit. So those are the extra incentives that we can add to.
No doubt. Let's see. Outside. Okay, we already just asked that one. I'm sorry. Terrence said, if I wanted to know how a load board works, what site can I use to get a free demo, or is there any free demo load boards?
Yeah. Well, a lot of load boards offer free trials in a way to lure potential clients in there to purchase their subscriptions to them.
Yeah.
Like that, for example.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned earlier, I have an affiliate with that, and I think my back office dropped it somewhere. If you look in the YouTube or somewhere on here, drop that for me, Yuva, on here on this page also, the DAT link, so that if he wants to check it out and use it, it's a free trial if you want to check it out. Like right. 30 days, you can have it for free and mess around in there. Yeah. Let me see what else. Can you chime in? Okay. Kashina said, can you chime in more on negotiating a good rate that includes the fee for dispatching?
Certainly. So let's say, for example, your rate is, I'm going to use numbers that's easy as far as math is concerned, right? So let's say you find a load for a carrier, dry van, flatbed, or reefer, $5,000 is paid to the truck by the broker that's posted. It's going from wherever to wherever, right? Not important right now, right? The number, 10% of $5,000 is $500, right? So when you call the broker, you want at least, your starting point should be at least what? 5,000 plus 500, 5,500. Now with brokers, they always, it never goes the other way. They always try to negotiate you back down, because the brokers have certain margins that they want to make. They charge certain margins to make money on their loads, right? So 5,500. So I would say 6,000. The load is posted at 5,000, start at 6. The broker's going to say, oh, I can't. He's going to say, what do you want that? I said, well, you got it posted for 5, but we can do it for 6. Well, I can't do 6. Well, I got a truck there. He's about 15, 20 minutes away. He's empty. He just got done with a load. He's ready to head back in that direction because he lives there. He's ready to move right now. We can do it for 6. I can't do it for 6. Can we do it for 5,750? Remember, your threshold that you can't go below was what? 55, because that included what the load was originally posted for, plus your 500 dispatching fee. So he says 5,750. So that's still good, right? So you may even accept that, because that's 5,500 plus the extra 250 for 5,750. Now, remember, the carrier is going to get the difference because a lot of people say, well, can I keep the difference? No, you cannot keep the difference. I train my students to live by the honor system. If the load was originally posted for $5,000, your percentage was 10%. That means you multiply 10% times $5,000. That, whatever that number is, that is your number that you're going to invoice your carrier if they choose to book that load and to deliver it. That's what you're going to, irregardless of what you negotiated higher for. Whatever you negotiated higher for, the carrier gets to change. Why? The carrier is going to respect you for that, and they're going to work with you more. They're going to say you're an honest person, down-to-earth person, level-headed person. I want to deal with you. And I may even recommend others to you because I see who you are and how you work. You're genuine. That's why it's just better that way. I believe in karma. Things come back to bite you. So if you choose to go the other way, right? You say, well, why can't I do 10% of 5,000 for 5,500, and then I negotiated up for 6,000. The broker came down to 5,750, and we agreed to that number. We booked it at 5,750. Why can't I charge 10% of the 5,750? Wait a minute. You just charged 10% of the 5, so you're double charging, right? So you're a crook now. You're not a dispatcher. You're a crook. You need to be arrested and go to jail. Right? So no, we don't do that, right? We don't do that. So 10% of the original number. Now, let's say, for example, a load by a broker wasn't posted, right? The rate wasn't posted. So how do you calculate a number there? How do you negotiate a rate starting point for a load that wasn't posted by a broker? You don't know where to start, right? That's a common question. I don't know where to start. The load, there's no rate on there. What do I do, right? Okay, you know the miles, right, on the load, and you know on your carrier's profile what their cents per mile was, right? So let's say the miles was 3,000 miles, right? And let's say that your carrier's cents per mile was $2.50 per mile, right? So I'm opening up my calculator. So $2.50 a mile that your carrier wanted, and that load was 3,000 miles. So your carrier should get 7,500 starting out. That's your carrier. That's what should be paid to the truck. And also, too, you want to do some market analysis or trend analysis, trend lines. You go to trend lines, look at that equipment type, and see what the cents per mile is paying on average to that carrier, and compare it to your carrier's profile. And if they match up, which they should, if they don't, then your carrier gave you an unrealistic cents per mile. Then you would go with the trend lines because you know that's what the market is saying, not what your carrier may give you an unrealistic number. Then you go by the trend lines to get a more realistic number. So when you finish your calculations, you can present that to a broker realistically, because you come with the unrealistic cents per mile. A broker is going to laugh at you, and they're going to realize that you don't know what you're doing, right? That's why I put you guys onto the learning curve to avoid those pitfalls, okay? So 7,500 on this load board that didn't have a posting rate. So let's say 250 was good. Let's say 3,000 miles was good. 7,500s, right? That's the starting point. That should be paid to the carrier. You remember your percentage, right? 10%. So you want to add your negotiation on top of that. 10% of 7,500 is what? 750, right? $750. So you add that to that. Now you got 8,250, right? That's your baseline threshold that you don't want to go below, because that includes your 10% and what the carrier should get paid for that load. Okay. Now you got to figure out a negotiating number higher. And this is the number you're going to give to the broker, because again, you know that they're going to try to negotiate you down, right? So 8,250, let's go up to like 8,300, 8,350. Let's go like no more than $200 more, just to be fair. Let's say 8,400. Broker says, I can't do 8,400. That lane's not paying that much. It's paying about 8,150, right? Well, I can't do 8,150. Can you do 8,250? Can you give me an extra $100? My carrier is ready right now. You know, he's all fueled up. His reefer unit is all heated up. Cooled down to the temperature that, you know. So 8,250. All right, let me put you on hold. And most of these brokers are not the actual brokers you're calling. You're talking to broker agents, right? They're in a cubicle, right? They're going to put you on hold and reach over to the thing. Hey, bud, I got a carrier on here, a dispatcher on here, want this load, right? He wants 8,200. Should I get it to him? Yeah, try to talk him down to about 8,150. No. 8,200. Be firm in that, right? If they don't take it, they don't take it, because you're trying to get the most for you and your carrier. If you don't get the load, you just don't get the load. I'd rather not get a load that my carrier deserves than to get one that he doesn't. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, right? I'd rather get a load that my carrier deserves, or rather not get a load that my carrier deserved than to get one that he didn't, right? So if you don't, but now if you live to fight another day, right? You live to fight another day. But what's the lesson in that? You're learning how to negotiate. You're learning the process of how that's done. And you're learning the language of the brokers. You're learning the language of the carriers. So that's the beauty of it. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man. That was a awesome breakdown, bro. All right, let me go back to the top. My man Dwight, you just came in, bro. All right, let's see. Sorry, running a little late. Yes, you are, Dwight. You never late, too. You always early, man. What's going on? Could you explain a little more about how you charge for dispatching on a podcast? He just now broke all of that down, bro. He just broke all of that down, and he took about 5-10 minutes to do it thoroughly. So just watch it back in the Patreon when we post it, because you my man, but I can't have him go through that whole thing again. That was long. But exactly what you asked, Dwight, he just broke down, bro.
I'm assuming I'm gonna get a copy of this recording somewhere.
Yeah. We'll figure something out. We'll give you a little clip or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not late. You're not late, Dwight. I gotta
listen. Dwight is always on time. Dwight,
right.
Everybody in the Hustle fam is always on time, man, holding us down. And he usually pops up and comes and joins us on the chats. That's my man, Hustle Hall. All right, let me see. Enough all that loving. Let me see if there's any other questions, because we getting close to that 9:15.
I see one. Do you get
go ahead.
the login? Do you get the login for your carrier ELD to help you dispatch? No, you don't. You don't need it. You got the rate confirmation, right? It shows when that carrier is supposed to be there with that load delivering. If he's late on the time of that rate confirmation, he's late. Plus, the brokers keep track of the carriers on their cell phones as well, with GPS monitoring software for the carriers. One of the popular ones called Macro Point. So that's kind of like extra work. It's kind of like, I don't want to say unnecessary, but it's not needed. I should say not useful, but it's not needed. So
no doubt. As a carrier, what is the best way to vet dispatching companies to find a good one? So we're reversing the roles here. Great.
So I would say feedback from other carriers from that, but it'll be kind of hard for a dispatch company to give another carrier. Well, not necessarily. If you want to win that carrier over, you can say, yeah, call my other carrier and see how I found loads for them. But yeah, performance, right? Communication, performance, and how you serve. It's all about communication and customer service. So yeah, performance.
Okay. Dope. All right. Let me see. Can you change your fee as you grow as a dispatcher?
You certainly can, but you don't want to change the fee. Let's say you got 3 dispatchers and then you scale to 3 more. You charge the first 3, let's say 7%, just to get in. They gave you a chance to dispatch for them, so you gave them a good rate, 7%, right? Then as you grew over a year or 2, you got more experience. You started to get versed in it. You learned it. You kind of mastered it or got good at it, I should say, expert. And you bring on other carriers and you decide to charge 10%. Now, as a dispatcher, me personally, I wouldn't go back and retroactively try to charge the 10% to the 7. I'm going to keep them on the honor system and keep them at 7. Keep them grandfathered in at 7. I'll just charge people from the other 3 and beyond 10%. I wouldn't grandfather those other ones in, because that wouldn't be good.
No doubt. Take care of the people who take care of you, man.
Exactly.
That's my motto. That's how I live my life, man. Reciprocity. Yeah. It's all about reciprocity. All right. All right, let's see. Let me go through. Listen, if I missed your question in the Patreon, ask it again. Just copy and paste it, so I make sure we get y'all questions before we wrap. Just ask your questions, or if you have any questions, just make sure you ask them. This is the kind of access I want y'all to have to be able to ask these questions. I hope everybody is getting value from this. You know, I know I am, and I see a lot of good comments. I see a lot of people gaining a lot of value. Charles, you've been tearing it up all night, bro. You doing your thing, brother.
Appreciate
This
that,
is
man.
like
Thank you.
the podcast on steroids, man. and listen, everybody who's on this, make sure that y'all subscribe to this channel, Truck and Hustle. Also, make sure you subscribe to Charles's channel. What is it? Dispatch 101.
Dispatcher 101 training for beginners on YouTube, as well as this Freight Broker 101 training for beginners on YouTube.
No doubt. So make sure you subscribe to both of our channels, right? Make sure you support in the Patreon. The link is on top on the YouTube chat. I appreciate y'all. If y'all enjoying this, throw some fire in the comments. Light up these comments for me one more time. And listen, I'm gonna look for like 2 more questions, and then we gonna wrap it up. We gonna get some information out so y'all know where to contact Charles moving forward. I don't see any questions in the Patreon, so I'll move to YouTube real quick. Let me see if I can find a good one. Let's see. Oh man. I'm sorry, that's a lot of comments in here. Yeah, bro. Email. Mr. Money, do I have a broker email? My dispatch email. Okay. Do I have a broker email, the broker carrier agreement to my dispatch business email, or my personal to not let them know that I'm an independent dispatcher? All right. So do I have a broker email, the broker carrier agreement to my dispatch business email, or my personal to not let them know that I'm a independent dispatcher?
I think I understand what they are asking. So if you as a dispatcher call a broker and to book a load for your carrier, and they ask to who do I send the email, the dispatcher, the broker carrier agreement to, so that you can book loads for your carrier, you want to know, do you send it to your personal email, if you have a business email, send it to your business email, or I've had dispatchers send it to their carrier's email to give the image that the broker is sending it to the carrier to book it, and then the carrier forwards it to their dispatcher. It's kind of an extra step in that regard, but if you want to feel comfortable with that, that's fine. But sending it, the broker sending a broker carrier agreement to a dispatcher's business email is not going to change the fact that this broker is having this load booked. The brokers can care less where that email is going as long as that load gets booked. You may have some good old boy brokers that may start that nonsense, but other than that, no, it's not a big issue. I mean, it happens. So loads get booked so much. The millions of loads that gets booked every day? I can't see a broker caring about where the email that the carrier packet is being sent to book that load. So especially nowadays with brokers catching up with the 21st century and using onboarding software like My Carrier Packets and RMIS, where they send you a link now to your email, and then you just click the link and fill it out online and upload the files, the documents. So that's even better, so.
No doubt. All right, let me get one more in. My question is, how do you advertise on Facebook and Instagram and other platforms?
Okay, how do you advertise the fact that you are a dispatcher and seeking carriers for your service?
I guess that's the question. Yeah.
So first of all, you create a good copy that you're going to say to present who you are and the service that you offer. And then you just either do, if you got the expense to do it, create the Facebook and YouTube ads and things like that. Or you just do like I did starting out, you do it organically, which I still am doing. I got close to 1,000 students in the dispatching side and about 200 on the freight broker side. I don't have one Facebook ad whatsoever, nor YouTube. I do everything organically. Can you imagine if I had the Facebook ads and all the demographics and the funneling that it targets, who I'm targeting, things like that, how much more traffic I would have? I probably would be in the hospital right now. But I mean, think of your budget and do it organically. Put yourself into it, because doing it organically keeps you humble, right? And you can kind of gauge of how effective your communication skills and things like that are when you start off organically, how much traffic you get, what is your ROI, right? Before you decide if you want to scale and add in Facebook ads and things like that. So try it organically. Create your copy. You may have to hire a person, but create your copy, what you want to say, how you want to present yourself, selling yourself, what services that you offer, because you are providing a service, right? And then go from there. So.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, y'all, listen, we're going to wrap real quick. Charles, let them know where they can connect with you. We have it posted in the chat and also in the Patreon. If you want to follow up with Charles, I know y'all do by these comments that you're on fire. Where can they connect with you and get more information about the dispatch training and also the freight broker training? Just say it real quick one time for them.
Okay, the website is www.exodusdispatchingandtraining.com. That's www.exodus, EXODUS, dispatching, DISPATCHING, and AND, training, TRAINING.com, Exodus Dispatching and Training.com. Or you can call me at area code 757-515-1684. You call me right now. I've been taking calls all day. So, yeah. Or you can email me at exoduslogisticsllc@yahoo.com. That's exoduslogisticsllc@yahoo.com. Or info@exodusdispatchingandtraining.com. That's info@exodusdispatchingandtraining.com. Thank you.
No doubt. Well, we appreciate your time, brother. We appreciate you giving all this information, all this value. We appreciate your students for allowing you to bless us with this information that they've invested in. Because, I know they gave you the blessing as well. And, thank you for coming on the platform. I know you were extremely low key until now you're in Truck and Hustle. So the secret is out.
Oh, my goodness, man. You just started some mess, man.
The secret is out. Hustle fam, I love y'all. Everybody who supports Truck and Hustle on the Patreon, I love y'all. Thank y'all so much. We do this for y'all, man. We're trying to grow the biggest, dopest community in trucking. We're all about learning and just giving back and helping out. Thank you, everybody who's on the YouTube. We had over a couple hundred people on here on the YouTube live. Thank y'all, everybody. Make sure y'all follow Truck and Hustle. Make sure y'all follow Charles. Make sure y'all tap in with our Patreon. We're going to wrap it up. I hope y'all got some value out of tonight. Thank you so much, man. Till next week, we'll see y'all on the other side. All right? Love is love. Later. Yo, Charles, I'll call you later, bro. Get some rest, man. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, bro. Thank you.
All right, my brother. Take care.
All right.
All right, y'all. One love, man. Everybody.